Well, welcome to the Rich in Purpose Transform Childhood Trauma Summit. We're here today with Aimee Cerka. She's a money coach and bookkeeper who cuts through the BS and makes money simple for entrepreneurs. She's a mom of four, crisis survivor, and queen of rebuilding. Today, she's going to help you ditch the guilt, trust yourself, and finally feel in control of your finances. Welcome, Aimee.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you because I really think, Aimee, especially in the childhood trauma area, finances are one of our biggest struggles. I know it has been for me. And so I'm happy to introduce you to our audience, and hopefully we can I probably got my little notepad over here as well. But hopefully we can both all make some forward strides in our finances today. And
Yeah.
the one thing, Aimee, that I noticed is that you in your introduction, you were a crisis survivor. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you get that title?
There's several. So I guess we'll back up. Let's start almost at the beginning. And I think to really lay the framework, we kind of have to start before the first crisis. So I was a very young single mom. I had my oldest a couple days before my 19th birthday. And
Mm.
because of that, I set out to find a new career. I had worked my way up in fast food management, was being groomed to be like GM of it was Taco Bell that I was working for, but I was being groomed to be a GM, but that really wasn't going to cut it because I needed to work whenever my son was in daycare, right? So I ended up that say I kind of fell into life insurance. I believe it was completely orchestrated. I responded to a Craigslist ad of all things. Ended up selling life insurance. I was loving what I was doing, but it was one of those where the company promised, like, you can set your own hours and you can do those things. And it was supposed to work great, working while he was in daycare. But we were required to be in the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays until 9 p.m. So not
Wow.
quite when the daycares are open, right?
Right.
Um, so I found a different position, still in insurance. I ended up that I was working for a State Farm agent. But during that time, I started my entrepreneur journey and I started in network marketing and was really working on myself. And my goal at the time was to be able to be there with my son in the everyday moments. My boss was great, party, whatever it might be, I could get off, but I wanted to be there in the everyday moments.
Right.
And 5 or 6 years later, I had married my husband at the time. We were a couple months pregnant with my second, and we made the decision that I could stay home, be home full time with the kids. Kid at the time coming to be kids, right? That was a Friday. 3 days later, we had a business deal go bad. My husband at the time was a truck driver. We owned our own truck, had all the things in place, contracts, everything like you're supposed to, right? But that only really does any good if they have assets available. So we went essentially to zero income overnight. We hustled a lot that week. We figured it out. He ended up that he found another position, but it was a 50% income cut. So we already kind of had some instability, some stuff going on. But when Wyatt, my second, was born, he had an undiagnosed birth defect. His esophagus wasn't connected to his stomach. So when the pediatrician came in to do their little check on him, he turned purple on the table.
Oh
When
my
they whisked
God.
him off to the NICU, they realized what was going on. They transferred him to the local children's hospital. He had his first surgery at less than 48 hours old and was there a total of 7.5 weeks.
Oh my God.
During that time, I created a story that I had failed my family because I hadn't hit the income goal that I had set. But if you remember, it wasn't about the income goal. It was about being there with my son in the everyday moments. So even though I had done the thing that I said I wanted to do, and it really became important that I was able to do that thing because it was very heartbreaking to be there at the NICU and see the other babies that like their parents had to work or they had to choose. Were they going to be there with the baby now while the baby's in the NICU, or were they going to take the leave time that they had when the baby came home? Like those choices weren't decisions I had to make. Like I left to take care of myself and to spend time with my oldest, but because I had done the work on my finances and we had done the things that we needed to, I was able to be there. But in the moment, I didn't feel like I had succeeded. I created more money stories around that. Then 4 years later, I'm trying to do the math. We had another crisis come up. My again husband at the time was He felt ill. We didn't really know quite what was wrong. Again, truck driving. I went to pick him up from work and he was unresponsive.
Oh my
Or they called it semi-responsive. Like I could shake him and he would kind of grunt at me. So what do, right? You call 911, ambulance is coming to pick him up. He had just started that job, so we didn't have benefits yet. Again, what are you supposed to do? So we went to the county hospital, but we live in a different county than he worked in by like a mile and a half.
God.
So there was no support. There was no help with any of the financial bills. It was completely cash pay. It was six figures in medical debt, essentially overnight. He was there for over 20 days. He was an undiagnosed diabetic. As far as I know, he's doing okay. We're not married anymore. We're going to get to that crisis in just a minute. But that, again, that was a different type of crisis because I didn't create the story there that I had failed my family because I knew that part already. Then I had to deal with the imposter syndrome that was showing up of I'm a financial coach. This is what I do. And we have six figures in medical debt that showed up overnight. And then we had to work through the meaning of what that is and what society has put on us. Again, all of these stories that we take on that are not true at all, and really shifting through that. And then realizing and coming to terms, understanding that I had let myself be in a emotionally abusive, we'll call it like it is, relationship for 10 years. And the power that I had given away because of it, that was a whole different set of crisis. And then we had like the work that I've done since then. That's the emotional regulation. That's the true personal power. That's the inner work that we do with money.
Right.
So we started in the first crisis was much more tactical, tangible, like looking at the things and the mindset behind it. The second crisis was very much more mindset related. And then the third was much more mindset and energetics.
Right. Well, you have had quite a little, uh, I guess, a journey up to where you are now. Just a little my mother had me when she was 15.
Mhm.
And so we kind of grew up together. And, we lived in a little town where, my grandparents didn't even have a bathroom until I was like 7 years old. And so I felt, not like everyone else because all my neighbors had bathrooms, but we didn't have a bathroom. And then,
Yeah.
it's my mother, she didn't have any control of any thoughts about money. And I remember one time when my stepfather at that time, they had a friend who owned a nice retail store for men's store. And I
Mhm.
remember my stepfather talking about he's going to go get a shirt, write a check, and it wasn't going to clear. I mean, so that was how I learned to understand how money was. And
Yeah.
then since I've been on my own, I've just struggled with money. I mean, I've made a lot of money, but I never had any money. And sometimes, really, Amy, I didn't even know how I didn't have any money because I would make a lot of money and I would just give it away. People said, "Oh, but you're not wearing a lot of Rolexes and stuff, Jamie." No, I would just give it away, and I would figure out somehow how to get me to where I was.
Mhm.
And I always said I'm only one sale away from doing whatever I want. So I'm so happy you're here because I'm growing in this, but I bought a couple of books recently, and I think this is not a good statement maybe to say here, but um, I have them and I start to read them, but somehow my subconscious mind doesn't really let me read them. I'm a motivated person, I'm a self-disciplined person, and I read books like that all the time. But to read a money book and tell me how to do it, I don't do it. I had a minor in college in accounting, so that's my go-to. I know everything how to do it, but look at your bank account, Jamie. Most of the time, I mean, I'm getting better now, but it's obviously you don't know what you're doing, and which is what kind of brings us to where we are, where we're going to talk about a little bit, Amy. You have a series right now that helps you understand how you avoid money situations. So I think it's a great thing. Like I said, I'm going to have my little notepad down. If you see me looking down, I'm taking notes, people. But the first one we want to go over is a bill dodger, which is my specialty. So let's kind of go into that and tell our audience how do you recommend that we break that cycle?
Yeah, of course. And I'll set the stage here because I'm totally enjoying this Money Roll series that I'm recording. But the premise here and the important thing to understand before we dive into those, this is the role that you've played. And you might see yourself in one of them. You might see yourself in all of them. I mean, I know I see myself in a lot of them. I was editing one of the new episodes that are getting ready to come out for this call. And it was like, this might be my favorite set. But, there's part of me that I see in so many of them, and that's okay because it's a role that you've stepped into. It's like an act that you're playing, right? But as an actor, you can step out of the role at any time and choose a different role. And we can kind of dive into talk a little bit about like the ideal role if we want. I can give you a sneak peek because as we record this, it's not live, but it will be by the time this airs. But these roles, the important thing in here is not to create any meaning. So let's talk about the bill dodger. The bill dodger is somebody who's got envelopes piling up. They maybe like physical envelopes or the mail that we're not checking, but this also can be digital as well because we live in a digital age, right? So what emails are sitting unopened in your inbox that are sitting digitally or you've just kind of avoided or you just moved out of the inbox, just delete, done, we don't want to look at it. But you're leaving them there. You're not reading the email statements. Maybe if you've got a business, you are not opening QuickBooks. You've got it set up, it's like in place or it's there, or you've got your spreadsheet, but you're not really looking at it because it feels overwhelming. And the thing with this is like the feeling underneath it, like really what's going on, is it feels safer not to know. But like we're not handling it. Like the stress is still building in the background. It's just like expanding, expanding, expanding. There was a movie, I don't even know what it was called, but it had this pink goo that came out of like the bathtub. And this is what I think of. Like it's just growing and growing and growing. Like you can shut the door, but it's not going away. Like it's still there. We're just kind of avoiding it, right? So the mini shifts that I give for the bill dodger, like if you find yourself stepping into this role, just pick one. Like set a timer, work on it for 15 minutes. Is it going to be enough time? Absolutely not. Like if you've avoided it for a long time, there's going to be a lot piling up, right? But set the concrete time on how long we're going to work for it to just start. And I love that you said, Jamie, like you've got the information, you know it. And I'll say it all the time. Like this stuff isn't necessarily rocket science.
Right.
The integration and so much of the work that I do with my clients, it's not like the logical knowing. We have to take it from the logical knowing to really, okay, we can't just know what to do, right? The logical knowing. We have to actually like take action on it. That's the second piece. And we get hung up there because of the mindset stories and the things that show up. But even beyond that, we have to be an energetic match. Like you have to feel safe when you do it. So we have these books, we have these things in place, and we're avoiding it. We're not taking action because it doesn't feel safe in our body. And I know you shared you've got a lot of trauma and things going on specific to money, but I'll share a lot of my childhood trauma, which so many of the things like that I've seen that I've created wasn't necessarily around money, but it was around love. Now, my parents are fantastic, and this isn't about talking down about anybody, but your experience and what you feel happened, your perception, that's reality. So it doesn't matter really what actually happened, it's what you feel happened. So I created a perception as a little child, and we can talk about money mindset and what age that's formed by. But my perception as a little child was that I wasn't loved or that I wasn't worthy of love. And love and money are very much tied together. So when I didn't feel loved, like the vibrational money arrangement, like that didn't work either. So then, yes, not only did like I create this in my love life, but I created it like in my business as well. Because if I didn't love myself, I didn't have the self-respect, I didn't have those things in place. Like, why would people pay me money? It's the same match. So if like you don't feel loved, don't want the money as well. And I got off on a little bit of a tangent there
Okay.
because we were talking about the Bill Dodger.
Well, but that's okay because when you go on a tangent, it's your emotions leading you to really kind of what you've experienced. And I think that, for me, and I really do believe, Aimee, it's a lot for anybody that's went through childhood trauma. It is the feeling love,
Mhm.
and I go through the self-talk every morning, and I am love, and love flows to me and through me and radiates from me every day. But when and it came to when I was trying to do this business. It took me 2 years, really because of the imposter syndrome. I was I had redid a lot of my life. I wasn't even the same person, but I
Mhm.
had the money thing still going on, and I felt that I was imposter syndrome because I hadn't solved all of my life's problems. So I
Mhm.
think that you're right that you just have to pick one thing. Like for me, is you're going over this, and I mean, especially and I've had several businesses, and you go over, and I would go over in my mind, okay, I'm gonna get this and this and this in, and that's this much, and I got this and this and this that I'm gonna have done. It's all gonna work out. So I didn't even write it down until sometimes, you'd get to the point where, okay, I've got to get clarity on this because I'm going crazy. But our subconscious mind is so geared to keeping us safe that
Mhm.
some of the things that we do are just, if you really think about it logically, it doesn't make sense sometimes. So I think, and that's what sometimes our audience should realize is that, you're not crazy. That's one thing I used to tell had a little thing. If I don't know I'm crazy, how do I cure myself? And so you're not crazy. Your subconscious mind is keeping you safe the way it feels safe, but from really an antiquated model, for instance.
Yeah. Your
So
body's working exactly the way that it's supposed to. It's doing all the things that it's supposed to do, but you're not actually being chased by a lion. It's just a little kitty cat. Like we got to adjust that. But your body, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken, none of those things. We just have to reassure our bodies like you're you are okay. Like this is what's actually going on, and it's very quite common.
yeah. Well, I think, that's the one thing about today's environment is that, you know, trauma 5 years ago or 10 years ago, nobody even acknowledged it. Today, I mean, trauma seems to be at the top of a list of a lot of things happening. So, people like myself were able to get help in the areas that we need and finally live a life that, God or the creator made for us. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, the next one you talk about, receipt collector. And I'll just start off with I never collected receipts. I'll just I just threw them away and again that was over in my mind. I knew I'd bought it, but okay, here we go.
This one, yeah, it's a little bit different. So the receipt collector, yes, you can be collecting tangible receipts. Maybe and a lot of times what I'm thinking about with this one is more like the business stuff. Okay. So maybe you haven't gotten QuickBooks set up, but you got a box of receipts and you're just setting them aside and you're collecting the receipts and you get that dopamine hit like, hey, I'm doing the thing that I need to because you collected the receipt, but we're not actually like doing anything with it. It's like that false positive, really. Like, yeah, that's a little thing, but we're letting the dopamine hit happen from there as opposed to truly making progress because it's like I'm responsible, but really it's still chaos. We're still avoiding it. It's just you've taken it one step, so you feel like you're a little bit further ahead. And this collecting here, we could also look at this as collecting items for like a garage sale that you're like, oh, I'll just set this aside because we're holding on to things because we're not ready to let go of it yet, and we'll collect it for a garage sale. And then 6 months later, you're still correcting for a garage sale. Like, are you actually going to have the garage sale? We can look at it as receipt collecting, but just kind of collecting in general. And we're holding on to things because it's based out of lack and avoidance. So we don't feel like there's going to be enough if we let go, or We're avoiding actually doing anything with it because, again, we don't want to actually do anything. And it's going to be a similar type shift that we make. Like it's and I always say 15 minutes because it's not really a huge chunk of time, but it makes you get started. And it's just one thing. And one's not going to be enough, of course, but we've got to get into momentum. And I also say, especially, okay, so if we're getting rid of the tangible stuff, if you're decluttering or whatever, we're not putting declutter your house on your to-do list. Like that's too big. You're going to avoid it. Can you declutter one drawer? Just put 15 minutes and you're working on one drawer of things that you've been collecting that you don't actually need, that you don't even really want. It's just taking up space. Or you could look at this as collecting mentally. If you've got everything that you need all in your head and you have to remember it all, think about all the brain space you are using right now, trying to remember all the little things that you have to do. It's exhausting. So you've got to have like a productivity system is what I teach. So unstoppable productivity is a little side note here. But you have to have a system of getting it out of your head because regardless, whatever we're collecting, if you're collecting the physical receipts, if you're collecting things, if you're collecting all the ideas, like it's still holding on to all of it as opposed to processing it and truly being the CEO of your life.
Right.
Whether or not you own a business, like you're still in charge of your life, right? You are the executive officer, and we're taking charge. And I think that's the point. There is definitely a lot more information out now, and people much more trauma aware. But the intentionality that I take with it is we are taking charge and I'm taking responsibility and doing what I need to and what I can be in control of. I'm not letting it be another reason that I'm avoiding something. And it's not about taking away from anything. It's like for me, I'm not letting it define me. I'm going to continue processing and I'm going to move forward and I'm still healing. And there's so much healing that we need to do on this journey. Like this is all compassion, but it's not going to be another thing that I'm just collecting so that I can truly step into that life that I want to have.
Right. And I mean, and so many people, that's what they're trying to do. Step into the life that they want to have. But, through the subconscious and our training there, and it's training, is that somehow we get triggered and we end up back to where we were. And that's why I think that this summit and people like yourself and other experts, if we can just see the vision, and sometimes, repetition is the mother of learning. So, you keep hearing and hearing and hearing something, and eventually you will take action. And, like 15 minutes, is doesn't seem that long, but sometimes I cut mine into 2 minutes. If I can just do something for 2 minutes, at least I have made progress.
Yeah.
And so, because sometimes I'll be sitting around and have all this stuff on my mind, and 15 minutes seems a little bit long for me. So,
Yeah, just get into momentum.
yeah, we just, I just have to take some kind of action. And,
Mhm.
this is so helpful, Aimee. And then you have the 1 day organizer.
Yes. So the 1 day organizer, I have to tell you, I hear so often with clients when they're like, yeah, okay, I'll do this 1 day. So I'm going to get my systems set up when I make more money. I'm going to work with you whenever I hit this income goal. I'll take care of my bookkeeping once I've got the money. I'll create a budget once I have this. Maybe you've bought the planner, you bought the Dave Ramsey thing, you bought the software, whatever it might be, but you've never done anything with it. You've listened to the how to save money and like make it simple, just automate a little bit, whether it's $5 a week, every like just do something or 2 minutes, right? Or 15 minutes, whatever it might be. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'll do that later. I'll do that when I'll get this done. So again, we're creating more delays and it creates more chaos now. Like the systems and the processes and the mindset work and all of these things, you do it now, they save you before like the money rush comes. Like you have to be the person. And this isn't like the fake it till you make it. Like it's truly embodiments. Being the person that could hold, we'll say you're working towards a 6 figure year. It'd be the person that would own 6 figures a year. Like what would that person do? How would they operate? Would they prioritize themselves? Maybe they're doing the hypnosis in the morning to affirm their self-worth and to remember how to love themselves again and to remember that they're worthy of receiving or whatever it might be, EFT tapping, all of those things that we use to help process, like our tools in our toolkit to help regulate our nervous system. Would they be the person that would do this now? Then just start now. We can't keep putting it off. You have to be the person that can hold those things now as opposed to just putting it off. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And
Right.
just pick one because I know I rambled off like five or six, but your little mini shift there, pick one area that you keep putting off. It's like one day I'll do this. One day I'll do this. How could you start? And that phrase there, that's a powerful phrase because so many times it just feels impossible. It's like it's too out of reach. Like I can't do this. Ask yourself, how could this be possible? And we're going to use that subconscious mind, that wonderful brain power that we have to help us. Because when you look for the solution like that, your brain goes to work to solve it.
Right. And that's, I think, what so many people are not familiar with the subconscious mind, and they just keep doing the same things over and over and over, and they don't realize that if it's there's something that's controlling 90% of your daily activity, right? And if
Yeah.
you have to address that. And the one thing that we help people with is, you know, get the end in mind. You know, if you can see yourself as that six-figure business owner, then you will start to do things that will get you there. But if you don't see yourself there, then you can't get there. And so you just go down the journey, and then all of a sudden you're triggered, and you end up back at the same place that you were.
Yep.
Um, okay, the next one let's talk about is hopeful improviser.
Yeah. So the hopeful improviser relies on optimism. They're like, it'll all work out. Instead of actually looking at the numbers, they're very much, if you know, masculine, feminine energetics. Masculine is very much like, here's the things that I need to do. This is what I need to go work on. Feminine energetics, it's not really quite like the manifestation, the woo, like I just believe it'll come to me, but that's kind of the idea that people will get. And that's really what the hopeful improviser is doing, right? They're like, the money's going to come, it's going to show up, but they're not checking their bank account. They're not taking any action. Like, they're not planting the seeds so that the money can come, that it'll show up. They're just like, okay, I've got this. Like, I'm in energetic alignment. This is what I want to happen. Um, they also might be spending based on like the optimism, like it's going to show up, but then they just panic again when the overdraft hits because they realize they can't really hold it. This is much more of like an energetic one because we're trying to be like we've got this thing in place that we want to have, but internally, your little voice in the back of your head, it's like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And then we kind of fall apart, right? So the shift for the hopeful improviser, don't lose like the optimism and belief that it's all going to work out, but we're going to ground it with some strategy. So check your bank account balance. Don't create any meaning about what's in there. It doesn't matter. It could be $10,000, it can be zero. You can be in the red. It doesn't matter. We're just looking at the number to ground ourselves in reality. Don't create meaning around it. Nobody says it's good or bad. There's no good or bad. It's just what is. And then go back to being optimistic and it'll all work out. And then we'll work on taking some action to make sure you're actually set up to receive. But to ground the hopeful improviser, we're just going to check in with our bank account.
Right. Well, especially with entrepreneurs, you know, if you can see the vision, or but if you see what you want to do and then you go take a nap, you're going the wrong way, right? You have to take some kind of action to help your business grow. And the one thing that I've found is that I've had a couple of businesses, and I usually always try them by myself. But for this one, I created a mastermind. So I'm with people that encourage me and help and go this way. And the one thing I did is if it costs more than $200, I can't make the decision. I have somebody else that will make that decision now, because I could end up with, four or five things that I didn't need one of, but because, oh, she was so nice or he was so nice, and I thought I would just help them out because it was only $325 anyway. So, those are the things that I think that always was with me, is that and I always, and I, the one thing is I always did feel that I had the capability of making the money, and I wasn't so bad at that of not taking action. But, sometimes it was short action and, okay, well,
Right.
I didn't do 50 phone calls today, but I did five. So, you can make yourself feel a little better about that. But, the action to get you to where you're trying to go and to get you out of the situation that you're in is really the key to everything, I think.
Yeah, an aligned action because we can take
Right.
busy action that's not really moving forward. And again, that's that subconscious trying to protect us. So I love that you've got that in place. For those who don't have somebody they can outsource decisions to, we could always talk about the 24-hour rule because that is really key. And that's the principle that I use to help people make sure that we're making informed decisions with money. I know we had another personality or another money role that we wanted to cover here, but do you want me to share what the 24-hour rule is
Sure.
real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Okay. So with the 24-hour rule, what we do is you pick an amount. So for my example, I normally use $100. So yours was 200. With the 24-hour rule, we'll say $100. If it's not something that you've pre-planned to purchase, because we're coming up on the holidays, right? So a couple years ago, I wanted an Instant Pot, and I had already decided I wanted an Instant Pot for Christmas, and it went on sale. I was able to purchase it because I had set the intention beforehand. And this isn't like groceries, but any other purchases. If it's more than $100, you have to wait 24 hours before you make the decision. To give yourself enough time, you step a little bit out of the emotion. So if it's like the dopamine purchase that you're just buying it because like it feels exciting or the salesperson's really nice, whatever it might be, it gives you some time to sit out of it and see, okay, is this something that I really want? Do I actually want this or was it just in the moment? And be able to make like a calm decision there. And it's really simple. Yes, you might lose out on a couple deals that are like flash sales and they're only available for 8 hours or whatever it might be. But for the most part, it's going to help you make much more aligned decisions with your money because you're giving yourself the space to wait out the emotional roller coaster that shows up when it comes to buying things.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that is a good strategy to wait 24 hours, but like if I'm online, it's easy to do that. I can wait. But if I'm in a store and talking to somebody and they're nice and I can say, "Oh, tomorrow, then I have to drive back and all that." Okay, I'll just take it today.
No, you got to tell them, like, no, my coach won't let me buy it today. I'll be back tomorrow. I've walked away from car purchases before because it's like, no, I'm going to wait 24 hours. I'm going to sit with it. And it's a skill. It's something that we have to work at. And yes, it takes effort to go back again the next day and buy it or whatever it might be. But when we sit and give ourselves the space, there is a time and point like you can get to the point where you're able to sit through it a little faster. You might not need the full 24 hours, but I had a decision even this morning that it was like initially it was like, oh, whoa, okay, this feels much more emotional. It was like, no, I'm gonna sit with it just send him an email back. It was like, okay, hey, I've received this. I'll get back to you on Monday morning because we're recording this on a Friday. So I wasn't doing it over the weekend. But it's a simple little thing that we just have to train ourselves to actually use.
Yeah. Well, and I think everything that we do to get to a certain point in life is actions and it's things that, we change our subconscious mind to the old safe to the new safe, and then you're able to, it's part of that 90% that you're supposed to do anyway, or that you're trying to do, forget about supposed to, that you're trying to get to that particular point.
Yeah.
I want to go to this one because this is the self-care spender. I'm here anxious to or eager to hear about that because that was my big thing. I would always go to when I used to be when I sold health insurance and life insurance, but I would wanted to have this nice shirt and a Brooks Brother tie. I wanted to walk in there and have a Brooks Brother tie, and I would, be in a situation and I would like, oh, I think I'll stop by the Brooks Brothers and I'll get another tie. And the Brooks Brother ties, they all the same, just different colors. But if you have 100 of them, you're like, I don't know what, now I'm like, I threw them all away. I'm like, why did I even buy all of these? But that was the comfort that when I walked into a place then they would say, wow, he's got a Brooks Brother tie on, which they probably didn't know anyway. But in my mind, it was that.
That's what they were saying. Yeah.
So let's hear about the self-care spender.
Yeah, so the self-care spender is one of the roles from the category that I call them earners leaking money. So you're making the money, you're not in a, and it's not that the avoiders aren't making money, but there's a different feeling behind it in this role. So with the self-care spender, they use self-care or business growth to justify the spending. So this could be buying another course to fix yourself when you've already got so many things like on your plate. You're already overloaded. You're not using what you have. You might even have a resource for the thing that you've got right now, but it's like, hey, there's a flashy marketing here and we're going to buy that course. Or maybe you've got a large like purchase that comes in or a large sale that comes in and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to treat myself to a spa day to soothe my stress because I've earned it, even when like there's a bunch of bills piling up that really like a lot of the money should have gone there. And I'll give my caveat on the self-care spender here in a minute. But you could be labeling your purchase for your business to justify it. Maybe your impulse spending, like you've had a really tough day at work and you're like, I'm going to scroll Amazon and buy a bunch of things that I don't need, or going out to dinner because I've earned it. So there, the shift that we talk about here with the self-care spender is looking at what you already have. Is it a free thing that you could do to take care of yourself? Or is it something that you've already had? Maybe it's a candle you already have that you can light the candle and create like the fun atmosphere and run yourself a bubble bath or take a walk in nature, whatever it might be to rejuvenate you. Like find a different shift there as opposed to always going to money. The caveat I've got to give here with the self-care spender is you should be prioritizing spending money on yourself. If money feels tight, it doesn't matter. Like there is within the budgeting system that I've created, we call it our play account. And that is the money that we have that is designated to spend, to like have fun with, because it's very important that we do have a positive relationship with money and that we feel when we earn more money, we're going to get to do more fun things. So this is not about cutting it all away. This is not about living off of beans and rice. That's not how I operate at all. This is about being mindful. Are we doing it extravagantly? Like we're just out of proportion, right?
Right.
So you have the play account and it's based off of percentages. It's set up so you have a proportionate amount of money to go have fun with. So it's not about not doing any of this. You should be doing this. And as we're recording this, we can say, like, I started, I call it my bliss experiment, about 3 weeks ago. And there's a lot more self-care and a lot more things that I'm doing for myself at this moment than like I normally do. It's a higher proportion, right? Because that's I call it experiment because it's like I'm not going into this with these are the results I'm going to get. It's like what happens when I prioritize myself. And we can talk about one of the roles that I identify with most. And it sounds like it might actually be a relevant role for you as well, Jamie. But it's there's a difference because I fall into the category of I'm normally the overworker. Like you have to tell me to stop. Like my natural tendency is like I've got to work, work, work. I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to keep putting in hours, all of those things. So this experiment is about pulling back and like, can I rest and enjoy the things and the self-care? But the self-care itself isn't bad. We just have to do it in a proportionate way.
Yeah, and I think, especially in the trauma area, that, we don't think we deserve the self-care. And so, I'm lately the same way is that, I just like to work and then all of a sudden it'd be, you know, I would like to go buy something and then, and I'm getting better at this, but, oh, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. And then my subconscious mind starts to saying, okay, you can't afford it. You could if you believed in yourself and believed in what you were doing. But I'm going to go and make you always not be able to afford it. And again, you don't realize that you're not making that decision logically. You're making that decision based on what your subconscious mind has learned in the past. And
Yeah.
that's why, I only learned about the subconscious mind a couple years ago, and it has changed my life because
Yeah.
I was always so, I wouldn't read a money book, but I'd read a motivational book, and I was always motivated. And you're not going to shake me. You're not going to, to really make me feel bad about something. But you don't go look at my checking account. I don't want you to see that. And and you become so good at, I mean, I could walk into people's house and they would think, oh, this guy's making money. He looks good. And then I'm like, you wouldn't have $3 that I could buy gas with to get home, do you? So, you just get into those situations, and what's sad is it becomes a part of our lives, right?
Yeah.
Our life is that, and you just get used to it. And like I said, I there used to be the times when I would say, I made $120,000 this month, but how do I have no money, right?
Hmm.
And I mean, I remember one Thanksgiving, I was having a good month, and people said, "Oh, we'll come over to your house." So I really went out and bought $800 worth of new dishes, and these were
Wow.
just family and friends, right? I could have given them paper plates, and we would have had the same thing. But I just went out and bought everything, and they're like, "Oh, Jamie, that's so nice. Oh, that's so nice." And it looks like you make a lot of money, but all of a sudden, I was like, okay, I got to buy this and this and this for my business. And oh, shoot, it really doesn't match, right? It really doesn't match about where we're trying to go. But,
Yeah.
those are the things I think and again, we all have different areas with trauma, with
Hmm.
childhood trauma in our finances. But so many of them, I think, most of our audience is going to see, oh yeah, that's me. Maybe not every one of them kind of like me, but it's going to be that, yeah, if I did that 15 minutes. And I mean, you were talking about the yard sales. I remember Gary Vee saying, oh, you can make a lot of money just on the yard sales. And he was a multi-millionaire going out to yard sales and showing you how to do it. So that's what I did for a couple of months. I'd go out, and well, the picture is not right, so I'm not going to post it. And so I ended up with a bunch of stuff that I
Hmm.
don't even know what happened to it. So, but it wasn't one of those things that really manifested for me. But you do those things just in, that quick, oh, that's a good idea. And you do it. But, you know, you have to have a plan to, here's where I start. Here's the plan to get to here. And if you forget the plan, then it's just automatic just responses to try to get to. And usually those responses are things you've done in the past that got you here in the first place. So
Right.
that's the
We have to look at where we're wanting to go. Like, is this thing even going to get you to the place that you want to go?
right. Because at the end of the day, if you need $5,000 and this is only going to get you 500, I mean it's going to be that's 10%, right? So I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if you focus on smaller things, again, which sometimes can give you the confidence. It's like us coaches, we can say, oh, it's only for 12 weeks, and it's $1,200 or $1,500. And really, Aimee, you can't do transformation in 12 weeks, right? You're going to what's going to happen is you're going to go through the 12 weeks, you're going to spend the money, but at the end of the day, maybe you got a little bit of information from that, but you didn't transform what's really got you there in the first place. So I think that, we have, as coaches and things, we have to really focus on how are we transforming your life. And so far everything that you've told me, it seems like you have it dialed in, so that people who come to you and say, this is my this is my problem, or this is what keeps happening to me. And the one thing, like, so many times we'll read a book, and then it'll come to the do exercise. Okay, I'll skip that part and start the new chapter, right? And that's the importance of a coach, and someone that can help you bookkeep, especially this is mainly for entrepreneurs, and we're a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's like, it's we just need to be able to say, oh, this is this is the help that I need. This is the help that I need, though, so that I can do it. And so many times people won't make, again, childhood trauma. I'm not worth that much of an investment. So you'll maybe then they'll say, "Oh, I have a VIP section for $47," but they've only told you how to get to the point where you need their help. So you buy that $47 package, but you don't really get to your goal because you didn't take the coaching. So that's one thing I urge people is, when you meet someone like you, Aimee, and you say, and you build that relationship with you online and you think, oh, wow, I'm that person and I'm that person and I'm that person. Let me call Aimee and have a meeting with her to see how she might be able to help me. And then be able to say, yes, I deserve that. And I will move forward with this program. So I really enjoy you going through all of these things that we've all went through and you're clearing them up for us. Is there anything that you think that, oh, Jamie, you should have asked me that question and want to clarify it?
I might have two things because I feel like we need to talk about the hustle hero because I think that's the one I relate with most, and it sounds like you might as well. So probably some of the audience. The hustle hero comes from the overdoer category. And the hustle hero feels like we have to work harder to earn security. So this is the staying up to 12 o'clock, 12 a.m., 2 a.m. because we feel like we have to work more to earn the more money. Um, and we'll cancel family time because, we've got work and we have these things. And this is like the opposite side, right, of the self-care spender that we had kind of talked about. And like this will be the default. When you don't feel this is where the worth comes in, and we can talk about how as entrepreneurs we have this like we entangle our worth with how much money we make, and really they're two separate things. We're not gonna have time for that today, but there's like so much we could dive into there that it's like a whole new set of things that we unlock as entrepreneurs. So if the self-care spender was like, oh no, like I don't feel worthy of that, really, I feel like almost the opposite side is the hustle hero and feeling like you deserve the rest. So the challenge for the hustle hero is schedule, if you're feeling really ambitious, one day, but at a minimum 1 hour that you're going to completely check out. Like you're going to put your phone down, you're going to lock your computer in the other room, like you're going to go do something and rest guilt free. Now, I can't keep you from thinking about your business, and you'll be surprised about how hard this can be in the beginning, but truly prioritizing the rest as well. And I love what you said there, Jamie, about it is hard for a lot of people to prioritize themselves and really to prioritize the money. Talk about like, yeah, you can go out and you can hire a business coach, you can take the podcast strategy, you can take the YouTube program, you could take the TikTok program, you could take the summit program because I've bought summit programs before as well. Like you can have all of those things, but if you haven't taken care of yourself, it's like having one of the old little Nokia phones, like we're playing Snake on like we used to do, right? But like
Right.
the apps, you can have all the new apps, like you've got the fantastic apps, but they don't work on the Nokia phone. Like we have to upgrade the phone, get you relevant in the current century that we're in, upgrade you, work on you. Once the phone's upgraded, all the other strategies that you've got in place, they all work.
Right.
But we've got to prioritize ourselves and we have to work on those things. And you would be amazed about how fast all the other things that you're doing, how fast they work when you prioritize you.
Right. And we just get into that routine, and especially with self-worth. It's that I'll do a little bit for me, but not a lot. And what we don't realize at the time is that once you get that reward for that effort that you put into the one thing that's kind of bringing you down, and it feels good, you're like, well, maybe I'll do this, right? And maybe I can feel myself of doing something more since this kind of actually made me feel good, and you get that dopamine back that oh wow, that actually worked. And that's why I think so much of it has to be trauma in lenses, because so
Mhm.
many times, I mean, I started self-development in 1995, and after a long time I'm like, why do these people get results and I never get any results? because I was reading the same things over and over, but I wasn't, sometimes taking action on them. I was very knowledgeable, but I didn't take action on them. So I stayed in the same place. And then you would get a business or a coach, right? And then they would say, oh, just do it. And you're like, well, every time I've done that, a lot of times it hasn't worked out good. So, but if you have someone that says, oh, even a small win, right? That's great. That's great. And then you start building a good relationship with people who you realize that love and encourage you, then you can
Mhm.
start taking those actions that you're afraid somebody else is going to know. Like, I never would ever talk about not really being able to afford things. And most of the time I would just say, no, I don't feel like going. And I isolated myself for 10 years because I didn't feel like going, but I really just
Right.
didn't have any money. So,
Yeah.
I think, Aimee, the, the financial aspect of this summit and the aspect that you've given us, I know is really going to help people move forward in their lives. And whether you name it transform at this particular moment, but as they work with you and they work with the systems that you use, they're going to say, wow, on that day was the day that my transformation started taking place. And so that's what I just urge people to believe in yourself, believe that you can have the rewards and you can have the life that you desire. But sometimes with the trauma, we just need that little bit of extra care that says, okay, and you get around a community and you say, okay, I think I can do that. And you get loved and encouraged. And all of a sudden, you're on your way. It's a journey, you never get there, but you're on your way to success and you feel good about yourself. And you do go on that little vacation or you do go to do something that you normally would have never done. So again, I really thank you so much, Aimee, for the wisdom that you've given us. And just is there anything else that you want to to say on, or just wind it up with however you would like to end?
Yeah, of course. Okay. I know we've talked a lot about the action and the subconscious mind and the different things that show up with our money. And I think to kind of end it all, let's go back to remembering like there's nothing wrong with you. You're right where you're supposed to be, but we can unlock that next level. And if you've been learning the things and not taking action, yes, it can come down to taking action. If you've been learning the things and you're somebody that's taking the action and you're just like, it's not working for me, there's so many small little shifts that we can make internally, especially as an entrepreneur, because you're selling you.
Right,
So again, we go back to that energetic piece. Like you can say all the right things. You can say that I'm open to receiving, that belief is there, but the little voice in the back of your head, that's where the energetic piece comes in line. And when you can align that, all of the work that you've done for all of this time, getting you to this place, like it's not wasted. You're going to see so much success. So if you're taking the action and you don't feel like you're getting the results that you need to, don't give up hope. There's just, you're like a little tweak away. And just because it hasn't worked in the past doesn't mean that it's not going to work. It could be working right now. It could work out tomorrow. Like it's all in the perfect timing.
right. Napoleon Hill has one of his, on the Think and Grow Rich. You're 3 feet from gold. People quit and they're
Yeah,
only 3 feet from gold. And then, if your persistence is really the key to getting to the place that you want to be. But just don't give up on yourself, and again, seeking help with people like yourself and other coaches, and to say that, because dealing with other people, you deal with your friends and they're going to say the same thing, right? Oh, you don't deserve that, or look, you've always been this person. But then you work with someone like yourself and you say, oh, I didn't realize that, and now I can move forward. So anyway, thank you so much, Aimee. It was a pleasure talking with you today, and I know our audience is going to get some rewards and some benefits from this, and hopefully that they'll reach out to you so they can really get to the place where they're trying to get in life. Thank you so much again.
absolutely.